Yeah, the more honest version of this is I just make the double portion, mix it all in this giant bowl and eat it standing over the sink by myself. Today on Don't Panic Pantry, we are making one of my favorite quick, super nutritious power lunches. It is a cold sesame soba inspired by the cold soba noodles I ate at a Chinese restaurant growing up. And this one is just kind of my riff on it using all the things that sit in my pantry all the time. And it is featured in the Don't Panic Pantry cookbook coming out January 31st. Pre-order yours now. There are links down below with lots of cool little surprises and offers for you in there. And now let's make cold sesame soba. So typically I keep like some dried soba in the pantry because you just always have it around. It's great to use. But every once in a while you get your hands on some fresh soba. And you can get that from our good friends at Sun Noodle, who make an amazing soba noodle. So we're gonna do it with fresh today, but you can always obviously do it with dried soba as well, which I always keep on hand. I'm gonna put this water on to boil. And then by the time that is boiling, we will have made everything else we need for our soba noodles. Ready? Start the clock. All right, first things first, let's make our dressing. So first we're gonna take some tahini, and one thing to know is that tahini has a lot of variation in texture. Some of them are very dry, and if they're dry, you might need to add more olive oil to this dressing. And then basically we're just taking a 1/4 cup of tahini, and we're gonna pour it right in here. If it's pourable, you're probably in good shape. If it's one of those really thick ones, you might need a little more olive oil. Now we're gonna take 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, mix that right in. You can use any chili oil you want. You can make your own. We got a recipe in the book for that, or just use someone like Fly by Jing and get some good chili oil. You could also just use sesame oil if you don't want heat, but I like a little bit of heat in here. And then we're gonna take 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of tamari. Now tamari is basically a roastier tasting soy sauce that is usually gluten-free. In a pinch, you can also just use soy sauce. Do it here again with the rice wine vinegar. And this just kind of makes it really bright and refreshing. Another 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of red wine vinegar. And I kind of like the red wine vinegar is a little punchier than the rice wine vinegar, so you get kind of the mellow notes and you get the harsh notes all together. You'll see when I mix this together, it's gonna kind of look like a super broken sauce. But then we're just gonna let it hang out for a minute and it'll start to hydrate those sesame seeds and start looking real good. We're gonna take the scallion greens here and we're just gonna slice these up real quick. And then we're gonna basically take one of these big English cucumbers. You could also use like 3 Persian cucumbers, and we're just gonna basically cut them into little matchsticks. So I'll kind of take it to the length I want them to be, which is about there. Water's boiling, take your free Scooby snack. Let's cook some pasta. And these cook super fast, about 2 minutes. It's like 5 minutes on a dried soba and about 2 minutes on a fresh. There's one thing you have to keep an eye on with soba noodles is for whatever reason, they create a lot of foaming and bubbling and they sort of will look normal and all of a sudden it'll just shoot up. So you always want to really keep an eye on it because every once in a while I get distracted and you end up with like soba foam all across your stove. So just, overboiling is a fear with soba noodles. This is like a nice meal for 2 people, or an excessive meal for 1, or a good little side if you wanted to serve a bunch of other stuff. You could sort of make this and kind of put it out for a little appetizer. Boom, done. That was fast. I'm gonna drain it and rinse it under cold water to stop it from cooking anymore. You wanna make sure you really dry them off all the way, because if you don't, you're just adding water to your dressing, which is probably not the best thing for it. We just dump it right into our sauce here. Then give it a nice toss. And then as always, you want to season to taste with salt. And if you want a little spice, you can always add a little more chili oil to it. And then you're just gonna kind of take some of your matchsticks here. We got scallions on there, cucumbers, and then just some toasted sesame seeds to finish. So yeah, this is basically like the hippie California twist on a classic cold sesame noodle, using tahini, using rice wine vinegar, red wine vinegar, all that kind of fun stuff. And the sauce is just so nutty, it just fully clings to the noodles. And it looks all smooth and beautiful now, even though it looked all broken before. It's like this filling, nutty, nutritious, acidic, bright power lunch. You get buckwheat, you get cucumbers, you get all these kind of beautiful, delicious, nutritious health food, power lunch, vegetarian. Ooh, a little bit of heat in there on the back end. It's just great, because the truth is, like, these cucumbers would be great just dipped in this sauce. I've done that before for like a little crudité board kind of a deal. But then you throw in some soba noodles, some scallions. Yeah, come on, we're partying. This is so good. This is one of the dishes in the book that I make all the time, and it makes me really happy. And sometimes I eyeball it, and then I go, oh, it's not as good as if I followed the recipe. Because this recipe is tested and works really well. Please pre-order the cookbook. Thank you for watching. Make this lunch, it's delicious. And we'll see you soon.